God, we're gonna bring in Regina, we're gonna bring in Edwina, we're gonna bring in everyone. And this is the thing, I would let them all over me and over with a 10-inch strap on. I did this for so many years. I don't know. Right in front of the eyes of their own flesh and blood. I'm right here! You can laugh at the way I have the connection with my horse, which you lot never had with your horse. How does that feel now? The hatred that I feel for the people that stood there and judged me for trying to help the only thing that helped me live. Hello guys, if you hear squeaking, obviously you guys know I explain this to you every single time. I'm trying to find a chair that is like just right. I just sold my chair that we made with my own bare hands. Sold it for literally a fifth of the price that I paid for it and invested in it, and that was a bit of a flop and a womp. Oh man. You guys requested this a long time ago and I've been putting it in the back burner for a while because I don't want to step on toes, trod on some eggshells. I'm going to really talk about not only Karens, but horsey people. Look, okay, if you're peaceful horsey people, this is not out for you, okay? This video is to basically share some of my stories with you that are just absolutely diabolical. Like I say, on every single one of my story times, I fake everybody's name, even though a lot of people don't mind the names, want me to put their name on it. I won't do that because I'm protecting the people. I don't want to step on toes or upset anyone's feelings or anything like that. But these stories are the epitome of horse people. Bad yard politics. Hashtag exposing Karen. The fact that there's full-grown women that behave this way is diabolical. So I'm going to share some of my stories to you and then give you some of my wisdom. Guys, if you've never been here before, please make sure you subscribe to my channel right down there and make sure you press on that bell so you know when the next video. So the first one. So I'm not going to say who it is, but a family member of mine kind of like managed a yard. And no matter how many times, okay, you can say, oh, it's this and that person, you can't say. For me, I kind of personally had to stay stum a lot of the time and be there for my family member and my other family member that was at the yard. And I can't tell you what yard it is, you're never gonna find it. So the first one, okay, I'm gonna call her Karen. I was with a friend, I'm gonna call her Roxanne. Roxanne was standing with me one day while I was riding, right? And this is when I first started to notice it. But mind you, I'm not a huge schooler. Like, I would school once, twice a week. The other days of the week, I would hack. That's my jam. That's what I do. I'm riding innocently. I need my own business. This horrible, eerie feeling that someone was watching me. Roxanne was just there chatting. This is why I respect her so. She knew that I had to suck the fart out of all these assholes. So I always felt obliged to be kind. Towards the end, I was really losing the will to not kill him. Karen is like doing that same darting look like family do when I'm eating something. The thing that brings me joy, I can't do because someone is staring at me. I'm like on the end of the school. It's a big school. So arena, if you will, if you're at the UK. We call it school in the UK. I'm right at the bottom. Sounds like she's really looking at you. And then she's kind of like turning around constantly to give her a look back and say like, what are you looking at? That's really weird. She was just standing there staring. Not like, hi Khloe, hi Roxanne, how are you? How was your day? Like a normal human being. She was just analysing how I was riding. There was another one at the yard that I really hated. We're gonna get to Sharon in a minute. Sharon and Karen, like just sort of whispering at each other, like looking at me, like analysing me. Like turning the thing that I enjoy so much. Yes, I was a schooler. I go to a dressage test, I'll do it for fun. I don't do it to compete. I don't do it to win. I go in there for a laugh. Yeah, if I get a rosette, it's a bonus. There they are, Sharon and Karen whispering at each other. And I'm just trying to pretend that I don't know that they're there. I felt so uncomfortable. I have so much hatred for these two. The Karen is known as a Karen up there anyway. Just let her go off on one every single second of every single hour of every single day of every single week of every single year because you just could not win with her. If you breathed, she would find a problem with you. If you walked your horse like half a meter, apparently you're breaking the rules. So she was one of those, right? Chill, Karen, chill. I'm living. I want to have fun. I'm enjoying myself. What's the point of me doing something and enjoying myself where someone's going to stare at me so hard like I'm doing something like wrong? This is the thing. This only happened whenever my family member was away. Whenever my family member was away, she'd go 100 max. My family relative was even gone for one day. She would let her presence be known. She would start all the other Karens off in there. The minute she walked in, it was like as though she blew out her poison out of her asshole and ears and just made everyone so negative. Like, it was a fun place until she came in. If anyone thinks I'm out there to get them, I'm faking your name, so I'm technically not. Then Karen's like, oh no, I'm not watching you. Babe, if you had 80,000 mile telescope on you that sees the moon and Jupiter, would be pointing it directly at me. Just can't. The thing is though, I could hear her. Every single flaunt I had, she let me be known. She didn't even say this to me in my face, but she was like whispering it to a Sharon here. And a Sharon was like, my relative. And I just said, look, hey there, I know you're like bopping it in Hawaii or wherever you are. Karen and Sharon are really making it feel uncomfortable. They know I'm half deaf, but I could hear it from a mile away. I could hear this Karen and Sharon pop off. As I'm going on the tracks at the back, it's like Sharon and Karen were like kind of like having their little 10 o'clock walk, you know. Feel it in my bones. They were like talking about me, watching me. And this is the thing, I am a little bit paranoid, yes, I'm crazy, we all know. Off my rocker, everyone knows intuition telling me that they were talking about me for absolutely no reason where I wouldn't do it to them. They weren't the best riders. One was too scared to even get on her horse, was terrified of her horse, but she was the most cutest thing on earth. Second one, oh, Roxanne. For this night, we went out for shisha because I was so pissed off at this point because I heard Karen complaining all week long about my family relative being away, and it was just really getting to me. After mucking out 20 to 30 horses a day, you do not want to hear that. You just want to get on your horse for the hour that you have in your day to actually enjoy the sport. Enjoy the whole part of your life. We're just chatting, chilling. Roxanne made me laugh saying, why would she be judging you for riding when she rides like a sack of potatoes? Sorry, this is the thing, I never judge anyone for the way they ride. The only time I ever judge someone for the way they ride is that you cause your horse discomfort and you cause people and horses to be in danger. That's the only time I ever judge anyone for how they ride. Anyone, beginners, non-beginners, anyone. I would never ever do that because it feels horrible, and this is the only thing that brightens up your day, and it just gets ran over, squished if you will. This Karen got worse and worse each time my family relative went away, and the thing is, she'd only do it when no one really was watching. This was the only time probably that people were watching this, and they were like kind of like, why? So the next one is basically about the same Karen here. It would just drive me crazy because when my family relative went away, they didn't realise how bad got in there, like when they weren't around. It would cause me so much anger and insult that people on my own flesh and blood would be slagged off, which in the UK means, you know, when people talk about someone behind their back, that's called slagging off here. That gets under my fingernails. If anyone insults or slags any of my family members off or insults them, no matter how irritating I am to that one, if anyone else talked about them like that, they'd be dead. Because my family relatives were there, I felt like I always had to be obliged to be cute and just take every piece of their I would stand there and take everything, and they always thought I was a moron. I had to stay stern. I have so much hatred for these people, some of them. Some of them are cool. I still speak to some of them, by the way. Karen and Sharon only get worse, and these are just a Karen and Sharon. God, we're gonna bring in Regina, we're gonna bring in Edwina, we're gonna bring in everyone. One of the first times I turned at someone and went to their face, screaming at them at the top of my lungs. For instance, my family relatives were gone for a couple of weeks, and every single morning I would get a text off my family relative about stuff to bring out in the barn for people to feed their horses, obviously. I said, is anyone working today? Does anybody have any obligations to go to today? Every single one of these, Karen said, a nice, cool no. I said, okay, I will open the barn at 11 AM. If anyone doesn't turn up, I'm gonna have to go because I have an interview. Okay? Keep that in mind. This is the day where I got so angry. So I wanted to spend an hour and a half, 2 hours with Della and have some lunch with her, chill out with her for a while because she was bedbound for quite a long time. Of course, Karen thinks that she could spend all her time all day with her horse and sit there and complain about everyone's horse. But when it comes to points where I want to spend time with my horse, no. No. I'm gonna call another girl. I'm gonna call her Lola. She would only text me either in the middle of the night or really early in the morning, like 4, 5 o'clock in the morning, where I think that is so disrespectful. And this one would be like, are you opening the barn? I'm like, in 10 hours, yes. Could you have texted me at a better hour, please? Okay, sorry. And the next day, she would just be on repeat and do it again, Lola. Why? I said, I am opening the barn at 11 o'clock. That's that. And I'll leave it open for 20 minutes. And if anybody obviously was at work and panicking, I go, no, don't worry, man. I've got you, man. I've got you back, bro. I'll bring the stuff out for you. As long as you tell me by this time. Not only we had a Lola kicking off here, we had a Karen kicking off here. I'm going to call the other one Laura. She's a Laura, okay? Sorry to the Lauras out there. This is the thing, I would never ever scream at an adult. No matter how bad like teachers have been to me, family members have been bad to me, whatever, I would never ever speak to an adult in a bad manner, ever. And I say to Lola, hey, are you coming to the barn? I'm kind of in bed at the moment. Can you bring this and 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 out? They all knew I've got a back injury. They all knew I come off a dinner about a year before that, and for a whole year my back was. Wait a minute. The only time that Lola will never come is when she has to get her tiny skinny ass into a Ziban, who was half my age. But instead of that, she'd rather be sitting there getting lit indoors, waiting until later in the afternoon that there's no more responsibilities for her to do but to sit there and go on about her nights out and like ride her horse for like 10 minutes and muck it out for 10 minutes and go. Like, look. So this is the time that I absolutely pop off and like, I feel bad. I feel bad and I get in my car and I sit there and I go, oh my god, what did I just do? I felt bad about my family relative running this place, helping this place to, you know, thrive as a business. I'm in the barn and I'm bringing this and this and this out. I'm looking at the list of the text. Half of it's not making sense because it sounds like a drunken text. Like trying to make out every single bloody word. Here comes Karen. She is at the door looking at me. She then makes a complaint again. When is your family relative coming back? I said, I told you this and they told you this. They're coming back at this date and this time.
Well, I kind of need a manager for it.
Well, Karen, I'm sorry. Until the manager returns or any of the higher staff returns, I will have to deal with it. I'm dealing with it the best way I can. Karen, would we please just get our stuff and get out the barn? I am in agony right now bringing this bloody annoying teenage girl's stuff and bringing it out of the barn where I shouldn't be doing it. She's half my age. She's got better bones than me. So Charisse now comes into the room. This one irritated me a bit because she'd be so into someone and then be such a someone behind their back. I'd sit there throwing back like, I swear you were like best friends like a week ago. And now Charisse is coming to a point where I'm like, Charisse, you need to leave. Thinking about it gives me head pain. My family relative does not understand how I popped off at this woman. And this is the thing, I would let them all over me and over with a 10-inch strap on. I did this for so many years. I don't know. Goes off with Charisse and of course Sharon comes in and they're standing there like triangular angle at each other. All of a sudden, apparently, in a Karen, Sharon and Charisse world, Khloe disappears into oblivion so that they can talk about my relative badly in front of me. They were calling my family relative stupid, irresponsible, lazy, spoilt by her husband, spoilt brat, holiday goer, right in front of the eyes of their own flesh and blood. I'm right here! Standing there, like, just literally, like, standing there, like, I just scream, I'm right here! That's my flesh and blood you're talking about. You horrible, dirty, nasty ass. I don't know, it's insane. It's insane. I don't understand how that is even okay. If they acted like that in their work, or if they did bother working, if they did do that in any other part of their life, their asses would have been whooped, sacked, and you can do whatever the f you like. You can f me over with a 10-inch strap on. You can call me dumb. You can call me an idiot. You can take the piss out of my anxiety, which they all did. You can take the piss out of like the sometimes I can't read properly. You can take the piss out of how I muck out. You can laugh at the way I ride. You can laugh at the way I have the connection with my horse, which you lot never had with your horse. How does that feel now? So there I am, you know, popping off like a bitch should. Thrown flesh and blood, screaming at them. Imagine just me clapping, screaming screaming at them several times. You're a get out of my barn or I on you. This was like the last year that we were there before Della passed away. So this isn't the only time that them three, the power of three, got together to make me feel uncomfortable, left out, isolated, alienated, made me feel like I'm stupid and I can't ride. So this is the third story. Sharon and Karen that believed that they knew how natural horsemanship worked. Consider this. Not only these Karens would go in front of my face and again obliged to keep loyalty to my family, ridicule her, rip her apart, rip her in shreds. And when it also comes to riding and natural horsemanship and Pirelli, which I studied for f***ing years, there was a specific rule: no loose lunging. I did join up, round up, which is basically not loose lunging. I showed them the books. I said, hey, I've been studying this for years. I have really studied this hard to make sure I'm safe, she's safe, the horse I've done it with is safe, and the amount of people that I've done it with, and I've done it, and it's worked, they would still judge me because it's not their own way. Della did it because she wanted to do it. If you put her on the lunge line, she kicked off. She didn't like it. I wouldn't make her do something if she didn't want to do it. Doing a joiner, not chasing her with a whip. If you bought the whip out and cracked the whip when she was doing this, she would buck at you.
Here comes Karen with her little buddy Sharon and Sherry. Here comes Karen coming to the school when it's not her place.
And they're standing there texting my relative. I'm loose lunging and chasing her with the whip. There was no whip present. She did that willingly. She wasn't causing harm. She wasn't jumping out the arena. She wasn't causing a ruckus. She wasn't causing people to come off. If anyone was riding in the other school, I'd put Della straight on the lead and get her out. So they would stand there and judge me, and like they wouldn't even fully like look it up. It come to a point until I bought a book in the next day and like, hey, I've practiced this for years. This is what I do. I didn't even try and do all this sort of stuff until I knew every single detail, every single instruction to make sure everyone and everything is safe. Go and text my family relative, just lies. I'm loose lunging, cracking the whip. So of course my family relative pops off at me. Is it true you're loose lunging her? No, I don't do that. I don't like it. I think it's humiliating the horse and scaring the horse into submission. I don't do that. I don't do that. That's not how I work. I'm having fun, man. I'm not even causing any harm. Like, leave me alone. I show my relative what I do and she was like, oh, that's not even that bad. You're thick. It comes to terms where I only did that when no one else was up the yard, and that was kind of solved. Well, it wasn't really, because if someone was being an idiot in the arenas, they would never get a complaint from me, but it came to a point where I felt like I had to trot around eggshells and do Pirelli when no one else was around. And even though I did it and studied it safely, I made sure every single part of my practice was done properly and how she wanted to do it. She never kicked off doing it. The only time she'd kick off doing it was when she was on the lunch line. To a point as well where like it did come to a point where I put her out in the field, and yeah, she was a bit of a meanie sometimes. She did try and be the queen of the whole field. She did try and own everyone at one point. Okay, I do understand that, but a lot of times their horses acted badly as well. But do you judge them? No. Do you let the owners know that their horse has been an arsehole that day? No. Unless it was going to cause someone or something harm. That, hey, biting over the door, we need to stop that from happening. Or the barging out the stable, we need to do something to stop that, to make it safer. That part, yeah, that's totally fair enough. And I'd sit there and I'd be like judged completely over it. And it made me feel a bad mum. It made me feel like I let my child be astray. And no matter how many times I said, look, I can't control everything she does. And so she is. Your horses have bad days. That's my first piece of advice to you. If you've got a horse in the field that's kicking your horse or whatever, don't have it off at the owner, okay? Just sit there and go, what can we do to make this better? Whoever doesn't understand anxiety, depression, or anything like that, that's fine. If they've come from a time where that wasn't really spoken about, that's absolutely fine. That's fine. That's why we are so open about things like this, for the future people to kind of come into this world. That's okay, and it should be talked about and spoken about and made people be aware about it. Someone that they know or they don't know, if they're having an episode, they'll know to have compassion, you know. But unfortunately, this time, this didn't happen. So I'm going to call her Edwina. So Edwina. So one day, Edwina of them all. So what she didn't understand was, whenever like, I had a lot of horses to do, I'd like to come up earlier because my anxiety, if I came later, I'd panic about how many and how fast I'm going to be during the day. And if I didn't get them done at a specific time, it used to like make me, you know, have anxiety. It wasn't even the fact that I might have been in the wrong, it was the fact the way she treated me and knew that I wasn't myself and wasn't okay. That someone who's known me ever since I was little would think, oh, she's having an episode or something. Let's go and see if she's okay. This battle act thought it was okay for someone to have an anxiety attack. Starting on her, going to a point where I had to lock myself into a stock cupboard where hay and straw is, to sit there, to calm down, to talk to a counsellor on an app, instead of her going around the corner and checking to see if I was okay. Do you know what? She did some things. She did some things that made some people cry. Like, she was one of those, like, really spiteful people that didn't even know she was doing it. Okay, I forgive her now, but this one I never forgave her for, because having a panic attack and stuff, it's one of the worst feelings you can have. I wouldn't even wish it on my worst enemies, not even people that have done me the worst. And anxiety, as much as I handle it a lot better nowadays, live with it a lot better now, but during those years it wasn't easy because Della was sick, and when she passed away, everything that I lived for was gone. And she would still judge me to this day that I was horrible for keeping her alive, judging me. And it shouldn't be judging someone. You should be there for someone who's lost their horse, because damn, if they lost their horse, that'd kill them. Wouldn't they want someone to have compassion towards them instead? It blows my mind. Whenever my family relative wasn't around, that's when she would be 100 max. And it comes to a point where I had to stay quiet. I felt like I had to stay quiet. Now, like, my family relative is angry with me that fact I never ever told her. Why are you even there if you don't enjoy being there? I don't understand why someone would even want to do that. It got to a point where she dug at me so hard, and you could tell I wasn't okay. And she just left me in there. Instead of her going, I don't think she's okay, let's check on her like a normal person should. Yeah, she never checked up on me, and I sat in that cupboard for like 4 hours. Oh, and another one. You know, like the ones at the stables that likes to take every piece of that is yours, and it comes back damaged to the max weeks and months later, even like after they leave. I wanted to get Della something nice for one of the competitions that she went to. Got into the championships, don't know. Ow. Oh, hey, let's get her a new saddle pad. Like, I think people like the UK call it saddle pad. In the UK we call it numbness. In Ingatestone, which is a shop in the UK, it's a massive equestrian shop, like people from all around London travel there. I see this John Whittaker lovely, nicely padded dressage legal numna. Now I look at it, I think that was so much money. I paid any penny for her. Have this numna, it's in its packaging, freshly washed from the washers. The rug washer brought it back in a nice crispy new plastic sheet. This girl, I felt bad for her at the point. She was going to a dressage test and she couldn't find her numna. Now I know why. Because she has no idea how to have responsibility for a piece of material. She loses it and she's like losing her. And I thought, do you know what? Let's be a kind person here. Let's be an okay person to say, hey, please don't panic. I've got extra full numna in my cupboard. Do you want to borrow it? And I felt bad for her, because if I was in that kind of situation, it'd be nice to have someone be like, yeah, you can borrow mine if you want. Like my dumb self. Just bring it back when you're done. That's all I said. Just bring it back when you're done. All I said to her as well, just don't put oil on your horse around that area because it stains. Because I knew she used baby oil. 24 hours later, it didn't come back. I should have known this. Like, everyone said, did anyone tell you not to lend her stuff? It's a number. How can she lose that? Huge white saddle pad. How can you lose that? I never got it back. She moved far away and moved to a yard far away, obviously. We pulled this bag out of her cupboard that all the junk she left, obviously. And there she is. My number. It's from 2 years ago. And I would never do this to her. If I borrowed even a hoof pick, she would have got it back. Hi there, gone through the first battery already. Hi, how are you? So 2 years later, you're telling me that's the time I get it back. So we pull it out of the bag. Now I understand why people don't lend you stuff. I thought we could salvage it. Maybe it's come back spotless. Maybe it's undamaged. Maybe it hasn't got one spot of stain on it. I could use it for myself. I bought it for myself. I pull it out of the bag. Like the devastation you feel and the hard money that you put into to have this one thing. And it's not even white. It's just black, stained, stunk of old oil. Stunk like a bitch. We pull it even further out of the bag and notice there's holes in it. And I was like, was someone hungry and had a snack on it? I totally forgot that little mice like to hang in our cupboards. Little baby mice. They're cute. Not cute when they're in my 200-pound num-num. Hey ho, guess what's there? Baby mice and these big fat mice rolled onto the ground. Lesson learned from that. If you or your friends at the yard have heard that she or he borrowed and it never comes back, especially the things that you spend your whole week's wage on or your whole month's wage on, don't lend it out. If they're running away, like avoiding you after they clearly have destroyed your stuff, kind of like grab them by the wig and be demanding that you want your money back. The next story, and I got judged when Della was passing away and after she passed away. If you've got someone at the yard, had a horse for such a long time, that's passed away with a really long traumatic illness, you'd think to show compassion, even if you feel like the person has done the wrong alternative thing. And I was just listening to my vet's advice. I could trust this vet, I really could. The fact that someone would judge someone, the thing that they've lost that keeps them alive, they're gone. And not only they're coping with losing the only thing that makes them live, you'd think they'd have compassion, their opinions of the way that the situation was ongoing, trying to find alternative medicine, because she was such a strong horse. First time I got her, they overdosed her with every single vaccination there was by accident, and they thought she wasn't going to survive the night. Next morning she got up calling for breakfast, and that, I never knew a strength on any living thing ever like that. To have faith that you'd have them for another few years after they'd get better. Oh, it makes me tear up. The hatred that I feel for the people that stood there and judged me for trying to help the only thing that helped me live, still f you to this day, f you. And this is the one I want to give advice to the most. When she passed away, I did a video and I deleted it. I got it off my channel, you can't find it on my channel. I was in such a bad, angry work. People were judging me. If you don't understand why a person feels immediate hatred for you, they're losing one of the most important things in their life, and the only thing that ever keeps them their day going and keeps them working hard, that they get like a few hours with them, and they're trying to do all they can to help. You shouldn't stand there and judge someone for just doing all they can. It's gone to one thing to another now, isn't it? Laughing at Karen's to just talking about just people's spitefulness. Multiple months and years after she passed away, still judged me for having faith that she was gonna get better, because she was such a strong horse. She was so strong, she got over so many things, and I'm crying not because of her now, because she's not suffering anymore, and I know she's always there. I'm crying about the spitefulness, the hatred, and the hatred that I feel for the people that thought it was okay to step off of their boundary and make someone feel so awful about themselves for like trying to like make their child better, and listening to the vet, the medical advice people, and the selfishness of them, of their opinions, just come forward to me so hard. I'm gonna use my quilt. Oh man. 3 specific people, I'm never gonna mention their name, but one of them was Edwina. Stuff that they'd come out with, I wouldn't even dare, no matter what their circumstances was and whatever they did to their horses. Like after they passed away, I wouldn't dare step over that boundary and come on my opinions, and wouldn't dare shove them opinions down their throat. I wouldn't dare, because I know how much it hurts so bad. Oh my god, see, this isn't even sadness, this is hatred for like that whole thing that they put me through, and they probably still to this day dance around the table going on with these assumptions. It wasn't even me being selfish, it was just me having faith that she was gonna get better, and me listening to vet's advice. And that was one of the most biggest things I talked to you guys about on this video, because I had a couple of people like saying, how did you cope with that being judged? Because like a video that I'd done so long ago, I was sobbing because I was being judged, and that was the one thing that stopped me moving on for so long, thinking I felt like dirty, I felt guilty, not only for helping her, like making it better, that apparently I was doing it wrong. And when you've got a horse that's not well for so long with something so rare, that you get judged for trying to listen to medical experts that have been through university and veterinary studies for years, and this guy, like, you know, was there till today. She was, yeah. And I listened to every one of his words, because I met this vet and he was a bitch. Listening to this veterinarian's advice was so like brutally honest, and not many vets or farriers will give you that raw honesty. And the day she passed away, he gave me that raw honesty. Some of these people, especially like these specific people who had a horse that was sick, I would be there for them after they lost the thing that meant so much to them. Still hurts like a blade, man. My dude's like, how are you doing? And these opinions that came across, and I'd stand there like I was okay listening to it, because obviously for my family relatives' sake, standing there taking it like a 18-inch strap on and going home with a straight face and just waiting until I went in my room, and I just cried. And they're probably sitting there laughing at this if they ever watch this, because they are so spiteful. They never choose happiness, and they never choose compassion, and they never choose kindness, and they would stand there and judge someone for like after losing the only thing that kept them going. And they know that very well. And in fact, like, they knew the day before we found Della, really, like, I never ever told anyone about this, but I might delete this, I don't know. Or I got a phone call to say, hey, we found a horse that you might really like. I was going to my shop and I was buying 2 boxes of paracetamols and a bottle of vodka, and I got that phone call, and that made me walk out of that shop and come back, because I had such a good feeling about it. I just had a gut feeling to turn back out of that shop and get home and look at her for the first time. And after that, I never ever went back to that horrible face. Oh my gosh, I thought I'd turn this bitch on silent. And people say they know about mental illness. They really don't. I want some people to know out there, because they've told me after that I'd done that video about being judged for having their horse passing away in such a sad, slow way, and they feel defeated already, and then they get the people judging them. And the thing is, you're only doing what the veterinarian is telling you what to do, and I still had that tiny bit of faith left that she was going to be okay. And I'm sorry to anyone who really cared about Della that is watching this, and I don't mean to make you feel down or anything, but that one thing that kept me going for like those 10 years helped me so much through. No one saw it was suicidal thoughts, anxiety, depression. No one saw that, because when I was at the yard with her, I was so happy. And having someone that has like gone through mental health the way I have, that's why anybody I know who has depression or anxiety, I tell them to go see the animals, go see horses, do anything, because I swear them horses have been sent to you for a reason, and I know that she got sent to me for a reason, and ever since then that's the reason why I'm still alive. I was trying to keep a straight face doing that. This was supposed to be a funny video talking about crazy Karen. Now it's turned into depression. I don't want it to be that way, but I know 1 or 2 people that wrote to me and they were devastated because their horse recently passed away, and they got judged for like how they were trying to like help them and deal with it. My advice to you going through that right now, being judged before your horse has passed away after a long terminal illness, or like has passed away, if you're getting these people that are talking about it and talking in your face in that horrible spiteful manner, that soulless part of them coming out with their most disgusting words of just no compassion in them whatsoever, you got to do what I learned to do, which is just to turn the other cheek and go upstairs and cry. I'm sorry, that's my advice, because it takes years for you to stop crying every single day that you've lost your horse. It takes you years to stop resenting yourself that you couldn't do anymore. It takes years to get that anger at you that thing's been taken away from you so fast, that they've helped you so much in life and given you so much happiness, but you couldn't give them what they gave you, and that is the most hurtful thing that you could ever go through. You'll eventually learn to forgive. I've forgiven most of them. It's just not worth you're feeding off what they're feeding you, and you're taking that energy in, and that's what they want. And if they think they're so perfect and everything, then why are they not so perfect? But what you've got to understand is that you were there to do all you could. It wasn't your intention for them to suffer. It wasn't your intention for their terminal illness or whatever to go on that far. What you wanted so much is for them to go through it, and that's normal. And had no compassion towards you losing something that you love so much, and then thinking, holy, I might lose something that I love so much sometime soon or sometime in the future. You'd think they'd have compassion for you. If they don't have compassion towards you on it, and they still don't years after, then they're not worth being in your life. They're more worth you saying hello, goodbye in the morning and in the afternoon and heading home. And my advice to you is, if that happens, if that starts to make you feel so uncomfortable that you go home and cry in your room, you're gonna have to move yard, because you're never ever gonna forgive them, no matter how much you try and forget and forgive, or forgive and forget, whatever it goes. No idea the hatred you feel from them. This was supposed to be a funny video with, like, you know, my funny story times. I'm sorry, I really am, honestly am, but let's bring out my duvet again, freshly washed. If you feel like this is happening to you, either leave yard or just avoid them completely and enjoy whatever you have left at that yard. You don't have a horse up there or a reason for you to be at that yard anymore, stop going there, but just like be in contact and still meet up with the ones that meant a lot to you in that yard. If you work at a yard and your horse has passed away, I think you need a long break away from there. That was one mistake I didn't do, because that reminded me so much of what I don't have anymore, and that made me feel so much worse and hatred. Brenda, let's use Brenda. Brenda would stand there and be like, oh, I would have done this, oh, I would have done that, but you kept her alive for so long. That's not your business. If you were a good person and it was your business, yeah, you might not have agreed with the way it was done, but what you had to agree with is the automatic feeling of the compassion that you would want if you lost your horse. And you should give that compassion to anyone that you know who's lost their horse. I would never have done that to you. No matter if you've done that to me and your horse passes away, I would never do that to you. I still wouldn't. Do you know what, guys? I'm going to do another video soon with more funny story time videos on horse Karens, if you will. This kind of went to a bad turn, but I do want to put this out there because I got such lovely messages after Della passed away, and there was like a few people that said, how were you coping with the anger that you feel towards the people that judged you? That's still making you feel uncomfortable, saying that what you've done is wrong and you've done it the wrong way. You haven't done it the wrong way. You did what you could. If you've got a horse that's got a terminal illness, find a vet that will be so brutally, spitefully honest. That was what I had to do. I met him when Della had an accident on her eye. Don't even ask me how she done that. We still don't know to this day how she done it. If someone's not being nice to you in a yard, the politics is never going to be your way. It's always going to be their way. They're being a Karen. It's always going to go their way. They're going to do all they can to make you feel uncomfortable, make you feel annoyed. You know what? Life's too short for the time between you and your horse, believe it or not. Even though it doesn't feel that way now, it is. You've got to enjoy every single day with them as much as you physically can. And if there's specific people there trying to ruin it or making you feel uncomfortable having that best time with your horse, please speak to your manager, because that's what they're there for. If there's anything going on, I should have spoke, especially with this. I should have spoke. This time I didn't, because of the respect that I have for my family relatives. You can't change them. You can't change tea into coffee. You can't change coffee into tea. You can't change water into wine, no matter how much we try. You gotta have compassion towards them, because the most powerful thing you can give out is compassion for people, no matter how annoying and irritating they are. Move yard would be a bit of advice, or go just a different time to them, even though a Karen will eventually come and get you. It's so important you speak to your manager. If you feel like someone is making you feel that uncomfortable, that you're not happy up there, like the time that you have with them, you've got to speak to your manager. If it does come to a point where it gets that bad and the manager isn't doing that much, you need to leave. The time you have with your horse is so precious. This is supposed to be funny with some good advice at the end, and into like goop and drama and noodle and crying her collection 2000 all over my clothes and all over my duvet cover that I've just washed with the last few pods I've got of Mrs. Hinch Rose Wonderland in August. I'm gonna finish this video before I cry my everything else off. And that was like one of my biggest mistakes, is like not saying anything or doing anything and or like not standing up for myself. I regret it so much now, because I'm pretty sure that my family relative would have understood. Like nowadays I tell them and they're like, why the f didn't you tell me? And I'm like, bro, do you think I didn't want to tell you? You don't have to be in their lives 24/7, but you should, like, everyone's own, like, feel compassion for people, because compassion, no matter how evil someone is, a lot of the time deep down they do have compassion, they just don't want to give it out. And as well, like, a lot of people might tell you to get over yourself. Your horse died like 3 years ago, get over yourself, start to meet someone, get married and have a baby. Don't ever take that seriously, because that makes you feel awful about yourself. Like, they don't understand what you've lost. They don't understand what you've been feeling for so long. I thought I could hold it. I obviously couldn't. I'm sorry, but I'm definitely going to do a video like this soon and talk about, like, horse Karens, because there's so many of them in my life and they're f***ing crazy. I think that make good story time. Trusty as I am, if you've never been here before, please make sure you subscribe to my channel. Make sure you press on that bell. Anyway, guys, so I'm going to love you and I'm going to leave you. And guys, you know what I'm going to say. Before you go to bed or before you brush your teeth, go to the mirror and say, I love you. You are beautiful and you can do anything. See you guys in the next video. Bye.